Have you ever thought about, or maybe even Googled, how to make money online? You're probably one of roughly 200,000 people doing that exact research globally every single month. How to make money online alone gets 246,000 searches. Work from home jobs gets over 368,000 searches every single month. Most of what's out there is hype dressed up as opportunity or vague mindset talk with no real numbers behind it. I'm going to go through 10 actual ways to start putting some cash and getting some cash behind you right now. And that's because more than half of Australians are already doing some version of this already. A third of New Zealanders are, kia ora, and 4 in 10 Americans are doing this too. So this is no longer on the fringe. This is now mainstream for so many people. And I'm going to tell you the truth about what content creation actually pays once you strip away all the hype. More than half of all creators make under $15,000 a year. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like when we break it down to every hour that you're working. So what you're going to be getting per hour, if that's the pathway that you are looking at. I'm going to walk through the difference between a business you build and a business that quietly ends up owning you instead. If you've ever, been in business yourself or you are in business, that is a trap that many of us, do get stuck in and caught up in where, we're having to work even harder and wear all of the hats. So I'm going to highlight some red flags before you would hand over any single dollar, including some of the questions that almost nobody asks until potentially it's too late. By the end of this, I'm hoping there's going to be no more guessing. You know exactly where to start and exactly what to watch out for as well. So we've got 55% of Australians that are currently earning from a side hustle or seriously considering one. 27% of those are actually doing it right now. So they're not just talking about it, they're in the action and doing it. And there's estimated 1 in 3 New Zealanders are running at least one extra income stream. Out of half are Kiwis, and 4 in 10 Americans are onto it too. So wherever you're listening from, you're in very good company here, and welcome. With this many people searching across 3 different countries at similar rates, tells you that appetite is definitely not the problem. Most people already know that they want this. What's missing isn't the desire, it's clarity. It's the honest map, and that's where this episode is at. Most of us can get stuck, asking, should I try this? And I get that. And that question feels really responsible, and careful and like you're being sensible. But here's the truth. Every month you spend asking permission is a month that you didn't spend testing anything. And that's the real cost of hesitation. It's not a hypothetical. It's actually happening right now to you whilst you're trying to make these decisions. And that instinct, most of us were taught that financial caution as a safety. So of course, some part of you still wants to ask if you're allowed, not as though it's a weakness. That is something that is inherited. We've gone through that in previous episodes. Make sure you check that one out. But here's what changes everything. A third to over half of people across 3 different countries that I've mentioned here are already doing some version of this. So permission was never really the question that mattered. The real question was always simpler than that. And that isn't just, should I? It was more of the point, or more to, going to give you the answer, which is which of these is actually worth my hours. So we've got 10 different ways we can start to get some cash behind us. We've got, Facebook Marketplace. There's eBay or Trade Me for my Kiwi babes over there. Good old fashioned garage sale, because stuff sitting in your cupboard laying around the house is doing nothing except for collecting dust and maybe some guilt there because we've been ignoring it for so long. You can have an Etsy store. There are local markets. If you have a skill or a craft that's already there, you can start to leverage that. There is task-based work, which can be mowing lawns, dog walking, pet waste pickup. There are 2 kids in my neighborhood, and I got a flyer in my letterbox, and they've started their entrepreneurial journey, and they've started their business where they'll come to your house and clean up after your dog, and they charge $10 a week. Now that's pretty friggin' good for young girls to be out there and doing what it takes to start getting some money behind them so they can chase their dreams and desires too. So you want to find something people would rather pay you to do than have to do themselves. There are apps like Airtasker, there are freelance skills, there's Upwork or Fiverr, and even a second job. There's no shame if you look at this as a rung on the ladder. It is a legitimate starting point, definitely not a lesser one. Almost a third of side hustlers spend under $500 to get started. These are low finance options, ways to get some cash behind you and build momentum fast. This tier isn't about building a leveraged business. It's about proving to yourself that you can generate income and giving yourself something to invest with once you're ready for that next step. So we start to look at some of the numbers here. The average Australian side hustler, if you would, makes around $730 a month, which is about $8,800 per year. So 18% make $1,000 or more a month. This tier, if you would, trades time directly for money, and that's completely fine. It's a great start. It's just not where you would necessarily want to stay. Later in this episode, I'm going to show you how you can start a leveraged business with $0 down. That's a different conversation entirely, so hang tight for that one. Now, there are two more ways people try to make money online, and they deserve their own conversation because they're the two everyone glamorizes the most. It's content creation and selling on Amazon. And let's actually run some numbers on those. So I had a look at the statistics, and they came back that more than half of creators earn under $15,000 a year. And 48.7% of American creators earn under $10,000 a year. And only 5.8% clear six figures. The average creator's income sits around $44,293, but that's dragged upwards by a small number of massive earners. It's the median single campaign, payout out there is just $3,000, and that's per year. So we don't want to be looking at the average. You want to make sure that you're looking at the median, because that's what's going to be telling you the truth. So let's have a look at the hourly maths, because this is the part that a lot of people don't actually show you, and this is where you get to reflect as to whether it's actually worth your time. So creators typically invest 15 to 25 hours a week in the early building stage, so $15,000 a year over roughly 20 hours a week worth, is about $14 per hour. Compare that to Australians' minimum award rate for retail and supermarket workers. That's $27.81 an hour, guaranteed. No matter how the day goes, you're going to get that money paid to you hourly. Or let's actually look at an Amazon warehouse worker, $27.08 an hour. That's also guaranteed, no risk attached. For the 48.7% earning under $10,000 a year, that's closer to $9.60 per hour, which is under the minimum wage entirely. So sometimes it might actually be better working for Amazon than running an Amazon store. Now let's run the same exercise for Amazon selling. Yeah, the median seller profit sits around the $400 to $600 a month. New sellers typically invest 20 to 40 hours a week learning, and at the middle of that, roughly $3.85 an hour. So just sit on that for a second. You can sell products on Amazon and earn $3.85 an hour before you've even covered your costs. Or you could work for Amazon on the floor in the warehouse and guarantee $27.08 an hour from day one. Now, this definitely is not a knock against content creation or against Amazon stores. I earn through my own content and I sell. I just make sure they are both built with leverage underneath them. That's the actual difference. It's not the platform. It's the structure that you have. And I'm not telling you any of this to scare you off. I love people that get out there and give it a crack. I'm telling you because I wish someone had actually told me. So let me tell you what actually happened for me. Every, no experience necessary pitch is technically true. And there's also, it can also be a little bit misleading because there's not, always something required. It's just not a qualification. For me, it wasn't online business experience. I genuinely had none of that. But what I did have was actually years of using social media platforms. That's the real transferable skill and exactly the thing, when I speak to no experience necessary, that's what I'm talking about, but a lot of others will conveniently leave out. So the real question isn't do I need experiences? What do I already have that counts if nobody else has called it a skill before? We have so many transferable skills that aren't necessarily falling under the category of a qualification. So the business I chose came with a step-by-step mentoring, program. It had an entire built out platform at zero extra cost with ongoing investment. So it was a one-off purchase, varying entry points. There's no monthly or yearly subscriptions and no hidden fees. That was something that I, found very sexy, very attractive at the time and still do. I was in profit from my original investment within 4 months, and I've been in profit since. And here's something worth being upfront about. My own business has finance options too. You can actually start with $0 down, but that's a very different thing to the under $500 that I mentioned earlier in this episode. That one was people spending their own cash up front, low commitment, no finance involved. Whereas mine is finance entry into a leverage business, meaning you can start earning from day one with nothing down. And that income is what pays the finance back over time, because a genuine business expense, it's tax deductible too. It's two completely different categories, and I don't want to blur them together for you. Here are some other things that no one speaks about. No one else can guarantee you'll get the same results as them, because no one knows the effort that you're going to put in. An online business is exactly that. It's a business and it needs you to run it. I've had my own online business now for 7 to 8 years. I've seen people come in and absolutely crush it, bringing in over 6 figures. They've just gone boom. But I've also seen people say they want to run a business, post twice, they disappear, never to be seen again. Both outcomes are real. Effort and want are two separate things. It's not always the model itself. It's how are you going to show up and run your business? And because I've been doing this for years, I've seen the shady side of the industry. And here's what to actually check before you hand anyone your money. 4 questions to run against any opportunity. 1 is time versus money. Are you trading hours directly for dollars, or is there leverage in it? This tells you whether the business has a ceiling or not, because your time is limited. So you want to make sure, you are clear whether there's a ceiling or not. 2, if you stop working tomorrow, are you living off savings, or is there something still generating income? This is the real test of whether you've built an asset or just a job that you've given yourself, that you've created for yourself. Number 3, how do you actually get paid? Is it directly for your own effort, or is it tied to how people underneath you perform? And this is the line between a legitimate business and a structure that needs constant recruitment to survive. Number 4, is there a base rate for your own work with a bonus on top, the way a normal job works, or does your income only exist if others are recruited and selling too? A normal job pays you for your labor first, bonuses as a second. A red flag structure will reverse that. A business needing everyone to contribute and perform, that's completely normal. That's just work. A business where you can't earn unless people under you are earning, that's the actual flag. Now, if we're talking about protecting your money, let's talk about protecting your time, because that one will run out faster than you think. We've heard it all before. Everyone gets the same 24 hours a day. There's no more, there's no less, regardless of income or effort. You cannot manufacture more of it or buy it back once it's been spent and invested elsewhere. Money isn't finite the same way. More of it can always be made again from different sources in different forms. If you're only ever trading hours directly for dollars, you've tied a infinite resource, money, to a finite one, which is your time. And that ceiling is mathematical. It's not a mindset problem. You can just push through with more hustle, which we've all been caught up, no doubt, at some point, where we sit there and go, if I just worked harder. But if you actually want to know what your time is worth currently, I built a quick little quiz for that. There's no email required. More on that at the very end. We definitely want to be looking at consumer mindset versus an investing mindset. A consumer mindset, money comes in and money goes straight back out on things. And that doesn't generate money. An investing mindset, money comes in, some of it goes towards something that can generate more money later. So making money is actually easier than saving it. Saving on a tight budget is robbing Peter to pay Paul. If your budget's already tight, trying to save it from something that really doesn't have any give is really bloody hard. So We always sit there and say, you want to build your well before you're in the drought. And that starts with everything we've already covered. Selling things online, you've got Facebook Marketplace. All of it is right there to get some cash behind you. And one more thing that is worth naming is, whose advice are you actually taking? A friend or a family member who's never actually built an income this way? It isn't wrong to care about you, but their caution is coming from their own experience or their own thoughts, not proof that it can't work. Well-meaning doesn't always mean well-informed. So let's define what leverage is nice and clearly and plainly for you. Leverage means something working for you while you're literally doing anything else or minimizing what you're having to do. So it could be sleeping, you could be at your kid's soccer game, having a wine with your girlfriends. It's a system, it's a product, it's content that keeps earning after you've made it once. It doesn't need you standing over it, clocking on, clocking in every single time. You're building out assets that continue to work. Your savings is a number that actually goes down when you draw on it, whereas leverage can keep producing without you always being the one that's, clocking on and doing it again and again and again, which is linear income dependent on you trading your time for money. What you do with that early income is where the fork in the road is. A consumer pattern will see you spend it. An investment pattern will see you invest it into something that can support your growth. That single choice will determine whether the ceiling we talked about earlier can ever get broken, that you can smash through and reach that new level.
A quick little pause to this episode. If you would like to see how women just like you and me are building an income and a business around what they're already doing using systems that carry the load so you get more time back, whatever that means for you and the season that you're currently in, DM me the word info and I'll show you exactly what it looks like.
So here's the recap. Start small and real today. There's no shame at any rung as long as you're climbing, as long as you're doing something. Know the real numbers before you chase something like content creation. Run the 4 questions against any opportunity that comes your way and understand leverage as the goal, not just more hours, that you're having to trade. What is your time actually worth? Right now, take the quiz. There's no email required, and I'll drop the link in my bio in the description. You'll find it somewhere, however you came across this podcast today. And if you want one small thing to do today, tonight, list one thing on Marketplace. Write down one skill that you could freelance. Name one thing you already own that could earn. Because let's face it, you were never meant to meant to set the standard. You're meant to set the standard. It's time to level up. Let's fucking go.